What is up? Delta here, coming at you with another Big 5 deck profile. Hopefully you've seen Gansley's and Crump's already. If not, check them out for sure. When we did our Virtual World Wave, we updated all of the Big 5's decks, so we wanted to just do updated deck profiles for you guys. That's what we're in the middle of right now. After that, we'll be moving on to our character deck tournament in November, where we will be playing 16 of our own character decks, HEX, 8 original anime, against each other, see who comes out on top. That's really awesome, so check that out coming down the road later this month. But for now, Johnson's deck profile. First up, 3 Armail. This is one of the cards that Johnson, one of the weak vanillas that Johnson used to make his fusions. Johnson didn't really have a courtroom themed deck, like Gansley was like the head of business strategy Kaiba Corp, and he played like a resource type theme. Johnson had Judgeman, and he had some cards like Sinister Justice, but most of his monsters were just like Armail, Current of the Dark Ones, Mystical Elf. But he used them for fusions. He had a Hysteric Fairy as well. Armail is one of the fusions that makes Dragonus the Wicked Knight. 1300 defense is not that bad, and you can search out with Reinforcement of the Army. Then we have Curtain of the Dark Ones. These are all in triplicate because he used multiple of them. 600, 500, this is pretty weak. It's one of the ones that makes Camion Wizard. Both of Johnson's fusions are weak. He did have a card that boosts him up in attack. We haven't recreated that aspect of his deck. Though we did recreate his deck master, as we do with so many of the Big 5. Regardless, another weak vanilla. Not much to say. This is a rather strong vanilla. Judgeman. I summon my Judgeman. 2200 attack, first used by Kaiba, but picked up by Johnson as well, or maybe more fittingly for Johnson. Johnson did have Joey on trial in the courtroom, and he was talking about like clever courtroom puns. And we did that in the Johnson duel as well. But 3 Judgment, always a monster you want to see. If you can even just tribute a weak vanilla for Judgment, it's a pretty good play. 3 Mystical Elf. This is good because she provides a little defense for the deck. It's sort of easy to tribute her to get out Judgment. She is used for a Camion Wizard, but honestly, I would probably rather leave a Mystical Elf on the field than use it and another card in Polymerization to just make a 1300 attack monster, or 1200. No, Camion Wizard is 13. Yeah, Dragonus Wicked Knight is 1200. She's definitely good. Doesn't really have anything to do with the courtroom or standing trial or judging at all, but it's in there. And then the last fusion material monster that Johnson has, One-Eyed Shield Dragon. Same stats as Armail, 700, 1300. And just like Armail, it's used for Dragonus the Wicked Knight. But unlike Armail, you can't search this one with Reinforcement of the Army. Then we move on to one of the other really good monsters in Johnson's deck, Hysteric Fairy. You will sometimes use its life point boost effect by tributing monsters. There's times where, you have useless Current of the Dark Ones and One-Eyed Shield Dragons on the field. But most of the time, it's just like, yay, 1800 attack monster. Time to beat some face in. Not much more to say about Hysteric Fairy. Then we have Skull-Angle, which is another fairy. Yeah, you can also use up Skull-Angles. Like flip Skull-Angle to get a draw. Tribute for Hysteric Fairy. Johnson's deck is mostly weak monsters, but Skull-Angle has an effect. Mystical Elf was 2000 defense. Hysteric Fairy is 1800 attack. His monsters get the job done. And Skull-Angle replacing itself is certainly good. If you're, say you set this first turn, your opponent sets a monster too. Then you flip Skull-Angle, draw a card, tribute for Judgeman. Attack over your opponent's face on the Judgeman. That's a pretty good play. That's a play to be happy about. And, that's just sort of, Skull-Angle doesn't really need much more to be said about it. It was, saw a lot of play in Virtual World for sure. It was one of those cards where they introduced in Virtual World and they used it multiple times, like Offerings of the Doomed, which was used in Gansley's deck and Taya's deck. But that's it for Johnson's monsters. You're always going to be looking for Hysteric Fairy and Judgeman, basically. On to his spells. Defusion. He has fusions, so Defusion just makes sense. And you can summon something like a Camion Wizard or a Dragonus Wicked Knight. Attack directly, then Defusion into the pieces, and attack directly again. Will that play happen a lot? No, not necessarily. Does that play put like 2,500 damage on board? Yeah, which is not that bad. Oftentimes that is enough to win a game decisively. One hammer shot, sort of like Judge Man bringing down the hammer. We just include one as another form of monster removal for his deck. That is not what replicates his deck master effect, Clear the Courtroom, though. No. We have another card for that. To replicate Clear the Courtroom, we have Lightning Vortex. So for Clear the Courtroom, you paid 1,000 life points, destroy all monsters your opponent controls, and then they take 500 damage for each monster destroyed. Lightning Vortex only destroys your opponent's face-up monsters, and they don't take damage for it, but instead of paying 1,000 life points, you discard a card. Basically, it still destroys all your opponent's monsters, and you have a cost that has to be paid. In this case, it's discard a card. In the case of Clear the Courtroom, it's 1,000 life points. It works pretty similar, close enough. We thought Lightning Vortex was the perfect replication of Johnson's deck master effect. Obviously, like many of the other big five, Johnson didn't play enough cards, and they don't print enough of his cards that we could make a full 40 card deck using just cards he played in the anime. So we have to bring in some of our own cards to the deck. That includes the cards we use to replicate their deck master effect. That's the same formula you'll see the other big five characters. So Lightning Vortex is what we chose for that. It does work very well to replicate Clear the Courtroom. And, oftentimes you'll sort of just hide behind like some vanillas till you can Lightning Vortex your opponent's strong monsters. Then maybe make a fusion, then tribute for Judgment, and go in on their life points. That's usually how Johnson wins when he does. Monster Born. Another card he didn't use, but this is Monster Born. It's everywhere, guys. It totally makes sense that he would have it, so we opted to include one. Painful Choice. This is a card that could be seen in his hand, at least in the dub. It's not that bad. Actually, speaking of Johnson's deck being made of a lot of weak vanilla monsters, you can use Painful Choice to maybe slim down the weak vanilla monsters. You just choose 5 of them, and your opponent's going to send 4 to the graveyard and give you Armail, give you a Current of the Dark Ones, give you something that you can actually use as fusion material. So it works sort of like Rhoda in that regard. It's like, you can get a Current of the Dark Ones to your hand or something like that. And then you don't need to worry about drawing quite so many of the weak vanillas, because sometimes if you just draw like 2 Armails and 2 One-Eyed Shield Dragons and 2 Current of the Dark Ones in a row, you're done. So Painful Choice helps clear out your deck in that regard too. Or you can use it just to guarantee you see a really good card. Like you can pick a couple Judgments because you'll be able to summon it, a couple Lightning Vortex, and then like Pow Greed, Monster Born, something like that. You choose, if you open with it and choose a bunch of good cards, your opponent has to put something good in your hand, even if you will lose some of your Lightning Vortexes or some of your Judgments. But yeah, that's how we see it used in Lee Johnson's deck. Pot of Greed, which is a card Johnson actually had. Not more needs to be said. 2 copies is fine. Then we have Polymerization, another card Johnson actually played, and included as 3 obviously because he had 2 different fusions. We include 2 of each of his fusions, so Polymerization gives you the opportunity to 3 Polymerization gives you the opportunity to make at least 3 fusions. Should you find yourself in a position where you draw 3. Then we have 3 Reinforcement of the Army, which you just use to search Armail. So yeah, opening a hand of a bunch of weak vanillas in a row, Reinforcement of the Army isn't the best, because it's like, oh hey, I got 2 Armails, I got 2 Current of the Dark Ones, and I got 2 Rhodas. Great. And yeah, sometimes if you draw your Armails already, a Reinforcement of the Army can be dead. You can discard it for Lightning Vortex. Obviously I wouldn't say Johnson has the strongest deck. Like I've said, his deck is some weak vanillas. You can have dead Reinforcement of the Armies. But he has Lightning Vortex, which is pretty powerful. He has Judgment, which is a good tribute. And his deck is consistent. You have a lot of your fusion material monsters, and Rhoda helps you see them too. Then the last card we include in Johnson's deck is Half or Nothing. Like some of the characters we saw play, he has no traps, no defense of any kind. So if we have to include a few cards in Johnson's deck, wouldn't be a bad idea to include a trap. Wouldn't be a bad idea to include a trap that makes your opponent make a judgment call and features Judgment. So either your opponent has to have the attack of all monsters on their field, or end the battle phase. Now, it is sort of bad that your opponent gets the choice, but if you have a face down, that could be Mystical Elf. Now, if they don't have a monster with 4,000 attack, if they choose to have it and just try to attack, they're not going to be able to get over Mystical Elf. Or they can just end the battle phase. So sometimes, even if you have their attack, it can function just like ending the battle phase. It can be functionally the same. Even if you have a card like One-Eyed Shield Dragon with 1,300 defense, if they don't have a Dark Magician, or even if they have Dark Magician, if they don't have a Blue Eyes or something, they're not going to be able to get over that 1,300 defense if all their monsters are just 1,800 attack. So even the having effect, if they should choose it, could be very good depending on what you have face down. Besides that, it's not that great. But if they attack directly, it's still good. Either you take half damage or end the battle phase can still be helpful. Only 2 of them included in there. Didn't feel more was necessary. But yeah, that's Johnson's 40-card deck. Again, that's how we chose to build it. Those are the cards we felt made sense for Johnson. Were the ones we thought gave him a nice full 40-card deck that really played like his did in the anime. Besides that, we just have the extra deck, Fusion deck. 2 Dragoness, the Wicked Knight, 1,200 attack, 900 defense. You're not getting great stats, but it can be enough for a game sometimes. You can defuse it, like I said before. And then 2 Camion Wizard. You also don't need to make the fusions if you don't want to, so we sometimes obviously will just use Mystical Elf instead of fusing it for Camion Wizard. But the possibility does exist, and Johnson did play them. So yeah, guys, hopefully you liked that. Like we said, there's going to be tons more of the Big 5 deck profiles coming soon. Couple other deck profiles that, like Tristan's, for example, because we moved Tristan's from being a mix of to the Virtual World just by focusing a little more on what he played in Virtual World. The little that we have of Tristan from the duel, Konami, please, Prince Epic Commander. But yeah, look forward to that, guys, and then the tournament, like I said. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, keep watching, click the ads if you really love us. That's the money we use to build decks. And YGO Anime Games out.